Welcome everybody to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage. Today we're going to be having a look at AVAX. This is going to be a lower time frame video. We do have a higher time frame video up above, so check that out if that's more what you're interested in. Let's get into the charts and see what's going on. To get into the smaller degree counts here, I just want to go over briefly a couple of the options that we're looking for here on the higher time frame. So the first one is that we are still looking for the potential of this actually completing to the downside here as a diagonal, where we count this as 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're looking for a three-wave move to the downside. Now what we'd be looking for here effectively would be for this move to stay below this 2156, and then what we'd be looking for here is effectively a three-wave move to the downside. 0.618 of the wave 3 would be this 992. Invalidation of this comes by crossing this 740, because if we cross this 740 it would mean that wave 5 was longer than wave 3, which would not fit into this count and mean that something else is going on. So we'd be looking for the possibility that we could look to reject from this level here and look to break down in a three-wave sequence. This is the case, looking ideally for zigzags to the downside here, potentially looking to retest this wave 3 low at this 0.618. So that's what we'll be looking for here if we're looking at this as the diagonal. Now we could also argue that from further back here, what we could have is that this move could be a more complex correction here, where we actually look at this as a flat correction here for either a W or an A wave. This is an X wave here, and then potentially a Y wave or a C wave to the upside, depending on whether we're looking at this as a flat or a complex correction. Now, if this is a Y wave, what we would be looking for effectively here would be a three-wave move. Now, our one-to-one target of this as a W wave would actually be already pretty much where we are here. So if we see something like this, we see this play out and it gets a bit bigger, possibly we could look to complete this as a move into this one-to-one, though I do think it is more likely we will see a move up towards this higher level here of this 1618. Now if this is going to become, instead of looking at this as a Y wave, we're looking for a C wave here, what we could see is we could actually develop five-wave structure. Now if we do look to push up into this area, we'll be keeping an eye on this 2292 to this 1884 as a potential C wave target. So if we do form this structure as a five-wave move to the upside here, potentially we could see price move up into these higher levels here, and that would align with the idea of this being a five-wave move to the upside as a flat correction. Now it is also possible that we could move this around slightly and say that our X wave is actually here and that we're looking for a flat in the Y wave. So we need to be on the lookout for that, because it is still technically possible that what we could have here is rather something along these lines, where we're looking for a flat in this way, where this is A, this is B, and then we're looking for this C wave. So this would still align with that idea of that W, X, and a Y here. So going to be keeping an eye out for this. This would be looking at this as our A wave. This is a three-wave move to the downside for B, and then looking for this C wave to the upside. So this is also another alternate way that we can look at this structure. So there's a few ways that we're looking at it. Now the thing we need to be cautious here on the idea of a direct breakdown is, if we look at the idea of the triangle here, what we could also have is that this could be a triangle from further back here, where this becomes A, B, C, D, E, in which case what we'd be looking for would be either a three-wave move if we're looking for that continuation in the WXY option from the macro, or alternatively, if this develops into a five-wave structure, this could actually just be our fourth wave here, and we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and look to still break down. Now we've met the typical requirement into this low within our five-wave count, so I'm looking more at the idea that this is a corrective structure, or we're going to have, you know, a final push down here in that diagonal. That would fit best in my opinion. Now if we are looking at the lower degree counts here, we're going to come in and just focus in on this little area over here. What I'm looking for in the immediate short term here is that we could look at this in a few ways. So we could look at this move just as a corrective structure to the upside, where we say that within here we just have this as a three-wave move here. This is an X wave and another three-wave move, effectively a double zigzag. Now if this is the case, what we could be setting up for is a bigger ABC pattern to the upside, where this becomes our A wave. We look to find support in this 1105 to this 1262 area, and then we look for an additional C wave to the upside. If we had to come down towards this golden pocket area, effectively our one-to-one would be up here towards this 1902. Now it is always possible that within this, because we didn't actually achieve one-to-one here of this Y wave, that what we could still see here is that this move could be A, B, and C, and we push up one more time. So we need to be just on the lookout for that. If we do manage to hold support above this previous X wave here, or B wave, this 1289, potentially we could still look for continuation to the upside, where we see one more push up here towards the 1777 level to meet that 1-to-1 equivalent, though I would still be looking out around this 1674. Though up here at this 1236 and this 1382, we do have that potential of looking to target out some of these highs that we have further back here. Now if we actually fail to push up as high as that, and we look to rather get this break to the downside, what we could start to look out for is the potential that we could see a three-wave move to the upside. Now, a typical rejection area here would be this 1474 to this 1543. If we do see price continue to hold this low and we see three-wave corrective structure to the upside here, looking to target out this box area, potentially this 786 would be an interesting zone if we're looking at that possibility of swing failing this high. Alternatively, if we do look to move down lower, here we have this 50% and this golden pocket here, this 1510 to this 1502. That could also be quite interesting as zones of potential resistance. Now, if we do look to see this move play out to the upside in three waves, this could align with the idea of seeing an additional push down here towards this zone of this 1286 at a 1-to-1. So going to be keeping an eye out on this. If we just see three waves up, could indicate that we still see this move down. Now, the bigger idea here would be looking for a retracement that's potentially going to come back into this 50% to the 786 down here, looking to find support lower down. Now, an interesting area for me would be this golden pocket, possibly looking to come back down here and sweep some of these lows. So if we do see this play out where we actually see a bit of an extension here and we push down deeper, or alternatively, if this A wave's not quite completed yet, we could see something along these lines where we got a little bit more in this. Effectively, we could look to target out some of these lower ranges. Now, if we do hold this support box, this aligns with the idea that we could see a bigger corrective move to the upside here, and then we could see, you know, possibly continuation up. Now, we could also argue that within this structure here, we could be looking at this the other way around. And what I mean by this is, if we actually look at that triangle idea, this could actually be A, B, and then C. So within this way, if we're looking at this structure, this is a corrective move. Technically is done enough to complete. It has good time relationship to the A wave. So we need to be careful that, you know, if we don't manage to hold that support, what we could actually start to do is break down in a bigger C wave here, where this becomes A, this becomes B, and then we see that C wave to the downside in either a 5-wave structure here, or potentially even a 3-wave move, though I would prefer to see 5-wave structure here if we're looking at this idea of ABC. So 1-to-1 could potentially push us towards this $7.41. So need to be on the lookout for this. If we do fail to hold support here, this could align with the idea of pushing down in the bigger way here. Now, within that more bullish way of saying that we're going to look for that C wave, looking to extend out here, the structure here currently isn't good. The only way that we could potentially argue this taking place is that this could be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we see an additional 3-wave move for a 5th wave here. But I don't like this as a diagonal because of the fact that this as a wave 4 within the diagonal, it would be very big in comparison to this. It's already come down past the 1-to-1, so it's less likely, in my opinion, that there's going to be a diagonal in that way. What we could still, however, have is that this could be 1-2, this could be 1-2, we could have 1-2, 1-2 here. So this is relying on the fact that we continue to hold these lows. As long as we continue to hold the lows, possibly we could see this start to extend out. Now, the key area here that I'm looking for is this last little bit. This will be the first to invalidate as well. So if we are looking at this in this way, what we'd be saying is that we have this as 1-2, this is another 1-2 here, and effectively what we are looking for as a 3rd wave would be this 1618 up here. So invalidation of this is the 1285, and I wouldn't really want to see this come down much lower than this 1346. We have already come down into our typical area that we look to find support. If we do see this start to build 5-wave structure to the upside here, and we start to see a break up out of this level, potentially what we could see is a move up towards this 1618 area here, which would be this 1927. Though We also need to just be careful because there is also that potential within that corrective structure that this could still be ABC, in which case what we'd be looking for potentially is this 1688 level as a possible zone that we could still look to push up into. So going to be keeping an eye on this. If we do see price push up towards this 1927 and we maintain this area that we're currently in, this could align with this move starting to extend out here, where this becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we'd get an additional fourth and a fifth, potentially pushing us up towards this 2270 to this 2117. So we'd have to monitor the internals of these waves for a better idea here. But what this would then mean is that after these complete, effectively what we would then have is from further back here, we'd have this is 1, 2, this would all become 3, we'd get 4, 5, and then we'd still have this as an additional fourth and a fifth to come. So this would be our bullish count, and that would be looking to potentially target out that higher area that we're talking about within this idea of a flat correction, which is sitting up here towards this 3160 to this 2408. So just on the lookout here that we could start to see some extension here, but what we want to see is nice strong price action to the upside and seeing volume also increasing as it does so. Otherwise, this could just be corrective. We see a bigger corrective move down, something like this. Or alternatively, this is A, B, C, then we find support and then we look to push up in some kind of another corrective structure. So it's going to be important here if we're looking for this continuation to obviously maintain this low here. But in the shorter term here, if we're looking for that 5-wave move, we need to maintain these higher lows that we've got up here towards this level here of this 1286. Coming in here and looking at the daily CPRs, what we can see is that we're currently sitting right in the zone of these central lines here. Now, if we do start to lose this level, potentially we could see price move down towards this 1341, which would mean that we would be looking to push down a little bit deeper here. Alternatively, we do have the other targets of this 1302, 1242, and this 1204 as potential targets to the downside for today. If we do see price actually manage to reclaim this level, we could possibly see a move up into this S1 line at this 1439. We have this 1497, 1536, and this higher level here, which would be particularly interesting because of the swing high here, would be this 1595 as a potential target to the upside. So if we are looking at these, we can see that these are getting progressively lower here. This is not a good sign. If we want to start to look for continuation to the upside, what we want to see is these lines starting to print above each other again. This would indicate that the trend is starting to shift. So need to see whether these start to do that over the next coming days. If we do see a move to the upside here, potentially this could shift these CPRs up to the upside again, which would be a good start, but we don't have enough confirmation of that yet. Now, if we have a look at the weekly pivot points, what we can see is that these are very tightly spread, which are indicating that we're going to see volatility. Now, if we do see price move back to the upside here, potentially we could look to find resistance here again at this 1432 to this 1442. So going to be keeping an eye on this level as a possible resistance area. If however we fail to either get back above these or even interact with these, potentially we could see price get taken down to this 1277, this 1126, and the lower level here would be this $9.66. So going to be keeping an eye on those levels as the week progresses. Now, if we do manage to get above these levels, what we do have as upside targets would be this 1589. Once again, interesting zone into these highs. We have this 1749 and this level here of this 1902 as potential upside targets for this week. Now, switching over onto the monthly CPRs, what we can see is that we are still currently above these central lines here. Now, if we do see a push back to the upside here, I would be cautious around this 1531. This would align with coming back into this R1 line, which is sitting up here towards this 1530. So if we do see price move up into this level, potentially we could look for that continuation to the downside if we reject off of it, where we could look to come back and back test this 1283 to this 1247. If we do maintain these levels, then we can potentially look for upside targets this month, which would be the 1758 and this 2022. Now, if we do fail to hold this level of these central lines, this could actually indicate we start to break down, targets being 1038 to the downside. We have 772, and all the way down here we have this 545 as a potential target to the downside. So we're going to have to keep an eye on these, see if we actually continue to push up and reclaim some of these higher levels here. If we do, then we could potentially start to see these CPR lines starting to shift back to the upside. Okay, so I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please smash the like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video, and leave us some feedback down below. Also in the description, you'll find a link to the Discord. Come check it out. It is free to join. Everyone, have a great day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.